This guide is for anybody to become filthy stinking rich and escape from Tarkov's PVE. Literally you, with no skill, can do this guide. This guide will make you roughly 15 to 20 million rubles per hour, subject to change based on the flea market current economy. The only requirement is to have access to the flea market and have access to labs, which at the current time of making this was free and level 10. But doing normal gameplay up until you reach flea market and have 160k to buy labs keycard is perfectly viable as well. To show how easy this is, I'm going to start with nothing in my stash and I'm going to upgrade my kit from a melee as I play. Alright, we're going to head to labs. Here's a map of it that you can screenshot if you want to use. I'm also going to put it up in the top right hand corner and show you where I'm going. So I spawned here and I'm going to take this route to res room. Labs PvE is generally safe as you have very few enemies to deal with at the start of the match and they spawn in intervals over time. They also spawn in after you hit buttons that will basically open up exits. The first place that we want to loot is this little guard shack over here. There is weapons on here that you can fight the raiders, though they have pretty bad ammunition, as you'll see a little bit later. The ammo that's underneath it is the highest value ammo that you can possibly find, but you'll have to use your best judgment because it's mixed with some pretty bad ammo as well. Higher the pin, the more valuable it is. Back behind this folder is a res room keycard spawn. There's also computers and stuff around this area, but I don't really loot them. Turn the power on, loot the scientist. The AI won't come into this area, but they may shoot you through the windows of the doors, so be a little bit more careful than what I am right here. There's a res room key spawn right here. There's a res room key spawn here. Since they didn't spawn here, we'll go into the other room here, and we will check to see if a Bitcoin spawned on this table. A stim did, but a Bitcoin didn't spawn right there. We're going to check behind this little piece here. There's also a Bitcoin spawn on the left of that table, but I forgot to check it here. There is a res room key spawn next to the chess pieces there. There's a res room key spawn here on this little power thingy. Remind to find me on Kick, YouTube, and TikTok. But the res room key card for me here spawned here. And then there's another spawn that is behind this whiteboard right here. There is also some spawns underneath the tables, but I usually check them last if it didn't spawn in the quick and easy to spot spots. So look around the underneaths of the table there. But res room is right here. You swipe your little key card, and this is the most profitable spot that we can have. Later in this video, you'll see that I find 4 Bitcoin in here. But we find an intel. There's a lot of items that will go inside of a docs case and injectors cases, but we don't have any of those right now, but those will be our first upgrades that we do. There's a Bitcoin spawn on this chair, this beanbag, into the slats here, and on the floor underneath the slats. Gotta be careful looting this because there are little items that you may not notice. As you can see, I pick up this skull that you could barely see. There's also this skull here, and then you can find some on this bed. All of these places where you find skulls, vertoses, any of these gold spawns can have a Bitcoin or other valuable items. You can check these duffel bags in order to find food and water, but I usually don't loot containers like this because the loot in the containers are usually less valuable than just the loose loot that's on the grounds in places. But if you had a raid backpack and you had some slots left over, maybe loot them. Now, I should leave this area and start heading around, but I remembered that there was another res room key spawn right here, so if you were looking for the res room key spawn, there could be one that's right there. Sadly, we don't have an injector's case to pick up all these stems, but I really should have just reset right here, but I chose to basically go and try to be greedy and get a little bit more money. So here is my crappy fight with these crappy guns, as well as me exiting. So let's fast forward. The extract I'm using is the main elevator extract here. You have to push this button and then you want to run through these doors here. Now there are other extracts that I have basically erased from that map earlier that I told you to screenshot, but these are the ones that really matter. These extracts though can spawn enemies, so you got to be a little bit careful. They can come down this hallway down here and they can come through the door that I just went through. But these are like the easiest extracts in the world to basically leave from because they're just in the basement right underneath where we're basically looting. So they're the ones I'm using. But if you go back to that screenshot one and look for the sewer exit, that one has no enemies that will spawn when you push the buttons. Now for some tips on selling things. The first thing I want to do is get enough money to pay for taxes on the flea. I'm going to right click filter by item and see what they are going for on the flea and whether or not I want to sell them to therapists. Sometimes you can catch items people are selling is cheaper than what therapists would buy them, and then you can buy them and make some money that way. But for the most part, I'm going to sell everything here, even the res room key card, because it's a single use and I can get like 100k off of it, and I can always find them every single time in raid. So fast forward to after I've sold everything here, all I'm doing is filtering by item and then just undercutting people so that they sell faster, because time is money. We ended up getting 461k off of some of it, and then as other parts of it sold, we got, you know, another 100 to 200k. I ended up using this time in order to buy an injector's case, doc's case, yellow, and violet, and I headed right back into labs to go farm as much as I could. Alright, now we're going to loot a little bit of violet here. Violet keycard is one of my favorite ones, but it's not really the most profitable in my opinion. It is mostly my raid backpack filler. There's a lot of streamer items, figures, there's a lot of like gold spawns that's in here. You will find bitcoins, graphics cards, LEDXs, Intel folders, blue folders in all of these rooms. Don't get me wrong, you will find them in all of these rooms. It's just some of these rooms are a little bit less likely, in my opinion, to go for that. Violet consistently gives me streamer items, figure items, and stuff. Red consistently gives me ammunition and sometimes a LEDX. Yellow consistently gives me graphics cards, bitcoins, and such. Res Room gives me a ton of bitcoins and Intel folders. Black is the most profitable per use, in my opinion, because you get like 4 or 5 different LEDX spawns and a ton of stems. Green is a lot more stems, but a lot less going on in it, in my opinion, but there is like a lot of medical items in there. Blue is the least profitable, in my opinion, but you can get a red key card in there every now and then. But that's my take on all the key cards, and yep, let's move on. Next up, we're going to go loot up some yellow. So obviously you would do all this in reverse. If you were coming from yellow, you're heading over to violet, but head over here to cat, and we're going to check the floor and check the table. There can be bitcoins, LEDXs, graphics cards, Intel folders on the table, and on each side of the cats on the floor. Inside this office over here, there is a bunch of different spawns. One of the first ones is over in the back here on the shelf. On the shelves on the left, and on the floor, and inside that cubicle next to a blue jacket. And then leaving out of here, we're going to head to the right and hit the security office. This is next door. There's really only like 2 places, one on this little stool thing, and then on the desk you can sometimes find pretty cool gold items. And then we're going to head down the way over to yellow. I really do like yellow. Yellow is a surprisingly cheap key card. I use it often in PvP because it has just like LEDXs, bitcoins, graphics cards, and this one we find a graphics card. It's all along the wall here on the floor. One of the best places to find gold G-phone. I use yellow to get gold G-phone in PvP all the time because gold G-phone seems to be one of the hardest items for me to find for whatever reason outside of labs. And I usually come here and grab it, and you'll find a stem right here next to this drawer. You'll find graphics cards, LEDXs, bitcoins, all kinds of different stuff in here. Pretty much on the chairs and on the side of the wall on the cushions back there. Alright, on the way out of here, we're going to head down this staircase, make a hard left, and head over to Res Room. Res Room is just along the way. On my way through here, though, I spot a guy in the back there, and I try to line up a shot, but he moves. And then some random dude on my right giving me some business. Never actually saw him, but you can see. So I head on over to Res Room. I just ignore all this. I've got enough stuff on me that if I died, it's more than worth it. It's not like it's a big deal or anything. So I'll head on down here to Res Room now, being careful of potential guys, because dudes can be inside this little room back here, and dudes can be on my right as I'm heading into Res Room. Now, I'm not going to show myself looting all this a second time. I just wanted to show that Res Room is the most profitable spot to go to. So you don't really need these key cards, because just every now and then Res Room will just dump out a bunch of bitcoins. and intel folders and stuff, and you can get consistent money just going to this one area and then resetting if you want to. Here you'll see that I picked up, 3 bitcoins pretty easily. One of them being in the spot that I said to be very careful of paying attention to, because notice that people will miss this little bitcoin spot right here quite a bit because it's through the slats and it's easy to not see it. So yeah, a lot of money made on this one. And then check the bitcoin spots for the chairs, and yeah. And then this happened, basically. Now for a quick speed up of me selling everything. We ended up making a beautiful, almost 5 mil, 4.9 mil is what we made in this one run. We only had 14K left over at the end of the last run, and now we've got about 4.9 mil after selling everything. So pretty good little run there. Now my goal is going to be to buy an actual kit. This is going to be a raid bag kit, and I'm just going to go through and buy some key cards. I'm going to get black key card, I'm going to get red, violet, all the key cards that I want to get with the money that I have, and basically get a full kit set up here so that I can do an entire run. So as you can see, I went with a P90 build, going with a Corund and a Bastion and raid backpack. I've got most of my key cards in my docs case and 2 injectors cases to make use of black key card the best I can. So yeah, this is pretty much the entire kit that I would run for this. But you can use anything you want to, whatever you feel the most comfortable with, essentially. Now I'm just going to let these last 2 little raids here run, and you can enjoy what it looks like running the route. This is not the entire route. I don't have every key card here, but this is the key cards that I had. I could still use green and that kind of thing, so enjoy. So yeah, hopefully this helped you out on PVE here. I don't usually do PVE guides, but I am planning on doing a whole entire guide series, so look for the playlist link in the description here, and if you want to learn how to play the game like I do, go for it. You know, I have a whole bunch of accolades. You can read about them in the description. I don't play PVE hardly ever. I'm a PvP gamer mostly. I got on here because it's end of the wipe and I'm waiting on release, and I felt like making a guide and doing some cool stuff. So hope you have a great day. Remember, every day is a good day. Some days are just tougher than others. Remember to show love and appreciation to those you care about, and hopefully this helped you. Bye! There was supposed to be like an actual outro here, but where I'm going through some changes on my computer and stuff, I apparently don't have an outro right now. So yeah, just this is the outro or something. I don't know. I couldn't find my outro folder, so I put up my kick banner, and you know, this is the end of the video or something. I don't know. Bye.